Buddy, and welcome to episode 365 of the Saturn Studs podcast. I'm Kurt, joined once again this week by my behelmeted co-hosts, Peter and Jake.
Anniversary edition of the cast. We made it, guys. First year complete.
Man, what a long road it is.
It's like fucking, we could do...
Year's a long time when you do one show every week.
Sometimes it took double recording, but, hey, it was worth it.
Put in the hours. Really crunch to get here.
The grind.
Sometimes you do 31 really good minutes on your podcast, and then your co-host tells you that he didn't record.
Anytime, buddy.
Sometimes that wakes me up in the middle of the night. Like I just wake up. Oh my god, what's wrong, honey? I had a nightmare. I thought I forgot to press record 30 minutes in.
I tend to live a lot of the nightmares other people dream about. What does that say about me? I don't know. But yeah, Jake, you weren't there last week. I hit record. I hit record, and then my workflow is you minimize it because I don't need to look at the waveform because it's never fucked with me before. But this week or last week,
Peter, it's fucked with you.
I keep that shit up always. I want to know if I'm like screaming too loud or.
Yeah, it's same. I've got it up. I got my DAW on this monitor. Yeah. I got my main browser stuff on this monitor, and I got the OBS up on this monitor.
Some of us don't have enough ports in the back of our PC to hold 3 monitors. I don't know if I'm one of those people or not.
You definitely are not one of those people. You have 3 display ports and an HDMI.
I'm still going to run one of the monitors through another monitor by some arcane force.
I try to investigate like what I eat before and how loud that'll rate my farts. So I mark off like what to eat and what not to eat, before the casts.
It's just the level of professionalism that you get here at the Saturn.
Sometimes I mute them, sometimes I don't.
Ass. Get the sound, the field recording.
And of course, as always, we are coming at a breaking news site. We are on location as police and news reporters start to funnel in. We were the first ones here, obviously, because I got a message on my my Italian signal. It's this little boot that it burns red. My little boot on my necklace burns red whenever a cardinal sin, an Italia-phobic cardinal sin has been committed. And this week we are coming at you live from some New Jersey backwoods where 500 pounds of cooked, pasta has been found, desecrated in the woods. We are trying to apprehend the criminal, so we'll be on the move throughout the podcast. And we'll try to figure out who committed this heinous crime.
The worst crime of all.
Yeah.
Bringing me back to New Jersey.
Back here.
It's
but
like
now I am an old bridge hunting. Hunting the pasta poltergeist.
New Jersey is Kurt's it. Like it's what is it? Dairy, Maine, I think is what it is.
Dairy, Maine.
Where they all have to go back.
Is that your rapper name, Jake?
No,
like
Dairy
Maine, but I'm Dairy Maine.
Dairy is no, that's actually my League of Legends main. I main Dairy. Is that the milk powers? No, yeah.
Lactose intolerant.
Derry's the fictional town in Maine for Stephen King's book It, and like everybody forgot about it whenever they moved away because of some shit that happened when they were kids, and it's like, oh my god, I gotta go back home. Oh my god, it's back. The pasta.
The noodles.
The noodles are back. The rift is opening between here and the pasta plane.
I know for the viewers at home, whenever
whenever
we go on one of these tangents, I know it's a 50-50 of whether we're just bullshitting or like this is some incredible fucking actual thing that happened. And this time it's an incredible fucking thing that actually happened.
That made world news.
They found 500 pounds of cooked, seemingly cooked noodles next to a creek in Old Bridge. in New Jersey. The forces of what they learned, the forensics discovered that the forces of nature actually cooked it themselves. Mother Nature wanted to have a little snack. She was a little peckish. So she took dry noodles that some fucker threw out, and she's like, "I'll do it myself."
It's pretty remarkable. I think nature's pretty beautiful when left to its devices what it can accomplish, and cooking 500 pounds of pasta is one of those things.
You know that you can scoop the water out of that creek and make like
yeah,
perfect marinara sauce with it now.
Oh yeah. That's what makes the pizza so good there, right? The water source is makes the dough just gives
I was gonna say, if this river flowed into New York City, it's like that explains it all. We found the operation, boys.
Yep, that's they say that's why New York bagels and New York pizza are just
the water they're boiled with and cooked with right out of the Hudson. It's delicious.
That delicious Hudson water.
Well, hey, we got the Hudson up here.
Maybe I need to dump pasta in the Hudson. That'll do it. I'm in Little Italy right now.
Also, I think New York City sources its water from the Catskills.
Yeah, the Catskills. Nobody would ever assume. I'd like to think that there's some uppity like LA pizza place or bagel shop that prides itself on being New York City style and imports its water from the Catskills.
Just
because I learned about a new thing the other day. I mean, we all know about shaping ice and whatnot for cocktails. There's a press that just came out that's $1,500 that will shape your cube of ice into a perfect sphere. Okay, fine. That's not the thing that baffled me. The thing that baffled me.
Why not just use
the thing that baffled me was where they got the cubes, and they said, "Well, you can sign up for our subscription service, and we'll ship you cubes of ice for this purpose. And if you're having a party, you can request ahead of time to get more."
I'm glad we've gone back to the 40s, where the Iceman comes around with his sheets packed in fucking sawdust.
It probably is.
Are you guys, dude? I gotta just start doing a fucking milk subscription and just come around and deliver people milk every morning or every week or whatever. Fucking, we're basically back.
Time is a flat circle.
Like, for real. I don't know where you're getting $1,500 from, Jake. That's kind of crazy, because I know they make, like, I've seen these ice presses where it's like two pillars. It's basically an aluminum mold with a couple of like direction rods, right? And you have the sphere machined on it, and it's just a heat sink, right? So it pulls the heat, or it warms up the ice as it presses down. It just uses the weight of the press to shape it into the circle. Those are usually like $200, maybe $300, because it's just machined aluminum.
This wasn't just machined aluminum.
And also, again, not to be that guy, but you can just use a spherical mold for your ice in the first place.
Also true.
Or a D20. Here it is. It's a luxury one that promises to make perfectly clear spheres. I don't know why they got to be clear, but
I mean, how are you going to remove an inclusion from the ice?
Well, that's why I think. That's why I wonder where their subscription service comes from, where they only promise it if you get it through their subscription of cubed ice.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they bring you perfectly pure.
They probably boil it first,
crystals of ice.
Because I think that's what it's got to be. It's got to be like boiled water.
That doesn't do it. You got to directional freeze and then cut off the sprue, I guess, as it were. Which you can do again if you watch any YouTube tutorial. If you put a cooler with the top open in your freezer, and then take it out before it's frozen all the way, you can get as much clear ice as you want. Takes like 3 hours.
Don't tell these people that.
You can have pounds and pounds of crystal clear ice and pay no money for it.
Other than your water bill. and the electricity to run your freezer. This has been life hacks.
Is this
Saturn studs.
is this pre-sale? So this is like the fucking Juicero.
Yeah, so I saw this on a TikTok that was at like some sort of trade show.
Yeah,
I thought it was very interesting, but they were advertising it as a $1,500 ice press, and it's got I don't know, it's got cords attached to it and shit. It looks more complicated than just a machine aluminum. I don't know why you got to do this, but I think it uses heat as well.
Oh, so it has a heating coil in it?
Because I believe it took 60 seconds, and I think the other ones usually take a little bit longer.
I'm looking at this thing. This thing is fucking goofy.
It is goofy. It's for sure. Just fucking.
Yeah. There's some gifs in this article they have about it. All right. Well, while we watch the markets, we'll also watch the trays in which you can put ice cubes. In our segment, Tray Watch. And much like an ice cube after you've shaped it, you've lost a lot of the volume. And so we've also lost a lot of the trailers this week. There's like 2, 3. Yeah.
I have 2, but
there's one for like Love Again, but I don't give a shit about that. So we'll just hit these 2. We'll do it easy style. Because you can't space these out, Hollywood. You have to pack them all in 1 week and then give us famine the next. What are we doing?
Well, it might be famine for a while because
that's
writers
true.
are on strike.
Shout out to the writers' strike.
Yeah, we can get into that if you want. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming out of that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like I don't think either side's in the wrong for the positions that they've taken.
Yeah, because
it's just the marketplace changed very quickly, and people really didn't know how it's going to work. Like I've been saying on the show for years, when we talk about like how streaming works out for monies for studios and whatnot, I'm like, I'm not sure how the value of these are indicated to the streamers, and it turns out executives didn't either. And so they spent a lot of money, and now they don't have that much money to spend, and they have to cut back. So they're being more selective about projects and trying to kind of cheaply hire writers to
You're telling me that
shows.
An executive didn't consider the long-term financial implications of a decision they made?
Well, and that's the problem, is that I think a lot of the decisions that are happening with like streaming platforms are all quarter by quarter and not long-term profit driven. Which, I mean, it's okay to be profit driven, I guess, but you got to make sure it stays long term and not just, we got to get these quarter numbers up, because if we don't, our stock price is going to drop and shareholders are going to be pissed. I think the real, like, if you look at just like the plain numbers, you're like, oh, what are they guffawing about? Because the average salary is like $91,000 to $101,000, but they also mainly live in LA, or at least some of them. A good amount of them live in LA.
It's not a lot.
Definitely something you could do remote, but the writers, I think, also have an obligation to be on set a lot of the times as well for a variety of things, which also is hampering.
Well, see, that was one of the things that was a complaint of certain members of the guild, is that the opportunity for the writers to be on the set, which is, one of the ways they kind of like track up in their career to being showrunners, was not being presented to them because of the costs associated with that.
Because from what I heard, was there was a couple things that they can do on set, in terms of like rewrites, like.
Oh yeah, they do rewrites and stuff. It's a very common
tonal meetings and stuff like that. And speaking of rewrites, that's got what a lot of people worried about the next season of House of the Dragon, because it's all written.
Okay.
But they said they're going to continue moving forward with filming, and the writers are like, well, good fucking luck with rewrites. like we haven't done that yet. And what happens when you get halfway through or something like that? We're still on strike because the last one in 2007 happened for 100 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was some timeline changing pivotal moments in there. I think I saw some threads talking about like Hank in Breaking Bad was supposed to die in like the second season.
Wow.
But
yeah. Well, he was supposed to die at the end of the first season, but the two
fell
final
into the
two
writer's
episodes,
strike.
I think, fell into the writer's strike, so they had to push off the resolution of that storyline. And something with The Office too. I know there was there, and it indirectly led to certain shows either getting canceled or certain talents spinning off their own shows. So there's a lot of.
I could see this. This is a timeline moving kind of event. Lot of projects hang in the balance here.
You know, it would be an even more timeline moving event if the visual effects industry unionized.
That'd be wild. Yeah, because that's. I mean, we are hearing a lot about like the CGI and animation just kind of being lackluster and how much they're being pushed to complete projects on time. That and video game.
They
I'm surprised they're not even as far as like the video game developers union or the video game workers union, because that's like they're trying to like develop that union, right? But like VFX, I feel like I hear nothing about that. Do practical effects workers have a guild?
I don't know. I mean, I think stagehands have.
Do you think it's because they contract out to private companies the VFX and then those are just kind of there's so much competition between them that they don't want it, that the companies don't want unions to form because of the competition?
I'm sure that's part of it.
Well, I mean, the company doesn't want the union to form because
sure.
Well, here's an article from the Hollywood Reporter here. VFX unions from March. So VFX workers union effort picks up where Last Reckoning left off. The name of the union is the IATSE. IATSE. The IATSE. So I don't know what that one is. Let's see what that stands for.
IATSE is already a thing.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be part of that. They're building it out.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it's the thing with that.
Yeah.
So you ever see that unionize, you can join a lot larger 5-petaled flower at the end of your movie. That's like it's kind of a pentagon. That's their guild signet or whatever. Taps to add a red and a white, some shit.
The key rune.
Yeah,
it's the Yahtzee key rune. Wouldn't it be funny if the Ravnican guilds were all just fucking unions?
Now that's
of different
a
professions.
Block of magic I want to play.
And like, is it like stands for
like
something as the Tractos?
Gruul is just the chaotic scabs that get hired in to do the welding jobs and fucking they're replaceable, so they don't care.
It's the green red Unga Unga lovers. That's Gruul right there, baby.
Azorius are the union lawyers that do the bar.
So kind of speaking of video games and getting back into Trey Watch here. Let's talk about one of our trailers. You'll never have to worry about Trey Watch running short.
We have that power. Much like I have no segue for this. Gran Turismo.
Yeah, it's very silly.
I feel like at the beginning of the trailer it is exceptionally silly, and they try it feels like they're at least acknowledging that towards the second half of the trailer. They're like, because the concept is a true story where like they was it Nissan or whatever, they're just like, all right, we're gonna take the top Gran Turismo video game racers and we're gonna put them in a program to race real cars. and this is like the story of one of those guys who I guess right we talked about this and he ended up
Yeah,
winning a couple like GPs or something.
when he won some races. I don't think he won any GPs, and he's still racing today, I believe. And he's like okay, I guess. I think he's in like the third most prestigious
Yeah,
F1 racing league now.
which is huge. Yeah, so this is at a weird crossroads of I guess we saw the teaser, but this is the trailer, and this kind of stands at the weird crossroads of sports biopic and video game adaptation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks. I honestly, watching the whole trailer, I think I would watch it. Um, who's the coach
Yeah,
guy?
I don't think
Yeah,
it's
David Harbour's character.
David Harbour.
I think he helps this work a lot.
Yeah, because he of his just incredulity at the.
It's a very
idea.
classic kind of character.
Yeah. I think this movie will be passable. Racing movies are, do well in a wide span of genres, Talladega Nights to Ford versus Ferrari.
Cars.
I'm sure there are other examples.
This is Cars, so so the thing about this one for me, I think, is that because it's
I suppose that
the most
counts.
pure. I think it's maybe the most pure part of the genre. No humans.
Yeah.
And
no,
there's
no humans.
Kids. Yeah,
no humans at all. Just cars.
Just cars.
Racing. It's only racing.
Only racing. But so because this is both a Sony movie and a Gran Turismo movie, my expectations are that this will have very strong effects, and I mean they kind of show that off where they do a lot of the visualization of what it's like to be in the video game or like to play it, and then some of these racing scenes. So that's a lot of what I'm going to expect out of this. I don't expect the story to be very strong. That's the weakness of Sony movies.
Well, see, that's where I'm gonna, I think, disagree. I think because the true story on which this is based is, a pretty interesting and, to a certain group, inspirational story. I think the story will be okay. The script might have certain deficiencies.
Yeah, I can concede that. But I say, I'll say it again. Like Sony, these kind of movies are ways for Sony to flex their visual effects and their graphics, essentially. So I like they literally
it all on
Morbius
PS5s.
They're like they said Morbius, it's gonna morb, so we're gonna make it morb in so many colors. We're gonna morb out on it, and I expect them to really grand this Turismo.
My favorite part is when he said it's Gran Turismo time, and Turismo all over those grands.
So yeah, like I'm there for the training montage of. I mean, and again, it at least kind of acknowledges these things. Like racing is a very physical activity, and acknowledges the absurdity of he kind of calls out. It's like you're going to take these kids who are just they can play it in a video game, and you're going to strap them into one of these fucking machines. Okay.
These very expensive machines.
This is going to be fucking ridiculous. So yeah, you know what? Honestly, if they're going all for it, I could watch it. I could watch it.
Yeah. I think of the video games you could possibly adapt, a Gran Turismo probably works fairly well since it's just racing cars. So as long as that's in your movie, people will be pretty happy with the video game adaptation part of it. And taking this story, I think, was going to be a movie one way or another. And since Gran Turismo is central to it, Sony is like, we'll produce it.
So I have moderately high expectations for this film.
Yeah, the only thing that took me out when listening to it was the this ain't no video game anymore. What do you know? You only play video games, nerd. Just a lot of that kind of
Although,
tone and rhetoric, but they're
given
not
the ego
wrong.
of racers, I could see that happening as intensely as it
Yeah,
was dramatized to be. I could see them having some beef about that shit.
yeah.
They're all very petty.
I just hope they don't.
They love their drama, those racers.
Just as long as they don't stick too hard to that and keep pounding that messaging and wait, I want to see him prove himself like halfway through and then all right, enough with the the video game slander. Let's
Yeah.
kinda...
Will they produce Gran Turismo the movie, the game, to go along with this? Like if they make this the next story mode, I
don't know, maybe.
I think that would be interesting. It's handed there on a silver platter. Like that's you play the story of this guy in the next Gran Turismo game. That would be pretty cool.
Could be.
What would also be pretty cool, except it's pretty hot because it's in the desert. Dune Part 2.
Yeah,
Dune, if you will.
Dune 2, Dune Part 2.
The trailer's so big it had its own trailer.
The trailer had more Zendaya that we got in the first one.
Yeah.
Even though she was like slated as a main character. And they're not wrong, just not for that movie.
So from this trailer, it seems like she's going to be spending most of the movie staring off into the distance at Timothée Chalamet. Kind of like squinting her eyes. Is that him?
Yeah, they showed a good amount. They showed a good amount in this trailer, just of different shots and how people look who we didn't see in the first one. And remember where we left off, where House Atreides kind of got set up to take over Arrakis, and that setup paid off with House Harkonnen coming this elite force of Norwegian crazy people,
the Nord boys,
and just tearing shit up, and then the survivors kind of fled to the desert, where the
they met up with the Fremen.
Yeah, the Fremen,
and then they walked out of the movie.
Yeah, and then they all walked out of the movie, and now we see that Lady Jennifer's set up with to be the high priestess of the Bene Gesserit. She's got tattoos on her face now, and they kind of post up the infamous scene of him riding the worm, which is cool.
Yep,
very cool effects.
That's their big thing in the trailer. Their big selling point there. But we get to see the black and white world on Giddy Prime. That's fun. I mean, it's gonna be good. This is the kind of movie where if you just do the same shit, just keep it, do what you did with Dune 1, keep on it. It's not its own thing, right? It's not gonna be a sequel in the way that other things are sequels. This is just the part 2. So when it comes out, after it's out and it does its theatrical run, I don't know anyone who wouldn't just watch this at home back to back. This is just gonna be a 5-hour movie after this part finishes running in theaters.
Which it probably should have been in the first place, but
I would love it.
That 80s movie was a lot to take in.
Very packed.
In the hour and a half, 2 hours that it was.
One. All right, that's probably gonna look pretty weird to everyone there, but we had a little bit of a technical hiccup.
I hope Kurt put the Dune lady yelling right there. But yeah, a double feature. I want to do a double feature in IMAX. I would pay double tickets for a double feature because I missed it in IMAX the first time. And everyone was saying, Jake, you were saying, and everyone else who I saw it were saying it was an experience in IMAX.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside I think was It was loud. It was a little bit too loud, I think. I don't know if that's me getting old or what, but I thought I prepared my ears early enough in high school by just blasting Disturbed in my headphones and in my earbuds, and
New Metal
just taking them
Legends.
out and hearing that ringing noise. But I guess not,
Momp.
because yeah, I didn't have enough tinnitus to see IMAX. It's just loud, but a very good experience, I think.
Like if I would love a theater to do like you do part one and then you do an intermission and you come back into the theater for part two. That would
Yeah,
be pretty sexy.
that'd be dope.
And like you wouldn't even have to worry because like we see re-releases now in theaters a lot. Like a lot of theaters do re-releases of old movies of new movies. Whenever Avatar needs to make, if they need to round up their budget to the nearest 10 million, they'll put it out for another week around a holiday. So I see no reason why Warner's couldn't just like say, yeah, no, Dune's coming back, so that you're all ready to watch the second one.
Yeah, especially with them being kind of hard up for money right now. I could definitely see them putting the first Dune back out into theaters. I think that makes a lot of sense since the first Dune came out during the peak of the pandemic, and not a lot of people could go out to see it in theaters.
Yeah, and they're not going to be offering this concurrently on streaming, I don't think, like they
No,
did with the first
it's
one.
not. It's not day and date. With that was only for that year of 2021 or whatever.
Which
I miss it. I miss it a little bit. Can't say that I don't miss it.
but
Alas.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be Dune. As long as we're gonna get some big old action scenes. I mean, the iconic like battles in the desert, which they flash forwarded to, in his visions, where they're all wearing Power Rangers outfits, fighting with little knives.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see the Muad'Dib come into his own, and kind of be a badass a little bit more than he was in this, because we only saw like one fight sequence with Paul Atreides where it was like, oh damn, he's actually
But
like kind of skilled.
It was an important one.
This boy got hands.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, he had training with Duncan.
Sure.
They showed that and implied through dialogue that this was a regular occurrence. So so how skilled Duncan was, you would imagine by proxy that Paul would also be.
I saw Dave Bautista's character in here, so we're gonna get more of him. Thankfully, did I see Jason Momoa as well? Are we going back to like? Are we doing flashbacks with Duncan Idaho? Because isn't he dead?
Spoilers in the long-term story. I do know this, that Duncan Idaho comes back. He died, but he comes back, I think, and or in some form. I think he's like cloned, because like in the later books, this is spoilers. I don't know. I could be incomplete, but what I heard is like when Paul ascends to like God Emperor and he gets really fucked up on the spice and gets superpowers, he just starts cloning Duncan forever. So whenever Duncan Idaho dies, they just make a new one.
Pretty dope.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. But you know who else I saw on the cast list for this? Christopher Walken.
Oh, really?
Christopher Walken's going to be in this. I really hope he's Emperor Padisha.
Is he the worm?
Oh, I'm the Emperor of the known universe.
That's pretty dope, though.
Muad'Dib. Oh. Which, like, wait, oh, fuck me. Like, why? Because he was in the music video for fucking
you got it.
Yeah.
Do you need it? I believe in you, Peter, but I'm here if you need it.
Oh, okay. You wanted me to Weapon of Choice, yeah. Which they quote Dune in that, and he floats around the room like Baron Harkonnen in the Dune movie. So I don't know if Christopher Walken's a fan of Dune, or if he's just like his fate has been intertwined with Dune. but he's gonna be in it. Let me see if I
could,
can find which character he's playing.
I could see him being a Dune reader of books, reader of fine
Walking Dune 2.
books.
Oh, he is gonna be the Emperor. Yes, bro, that's so good. Ever since his role in Balls of Fury as the big bad guy in that game, in that movie, I was like, this man is destined for royalty. Oh, I am so happy that this man will play the fucking Emperor Padisha.
That's what they used for Christopher Walken's audition tape, was just that scene in Balls of Fury. Ping pong, or as they call it in China, ping pong. It's classic.
Yeah, that's how I describe that movie.
It's a timeless classic. It's going to be on Turner Classic Movies. You can bet your bottom dollar.
It was a big part. It was part of my adolescence. Yeah, Rolling Stones article here. Christopher Walken cast in Dune Part 2, just as Fatboy Slim prophesized.
You know what? I think the real question we have to ask here is Danny Villanueva, a Fatboy Slim fan.
They could very well be. If you walk without rhythm, then it won't attract the worm. You walk without rhythm, you'll never learn. It's a good fucking song, baby.
It's all right. Let's follow that up.
Now I'm gonna go back and watch that. I'm gonna watch that music video.
The music video's got like a nice 4K glow up. It looks impossibly good for the year in which it was shot. Right, well, let's move now to the follow-up, where we'll take a look at box office winners and losers for the week of April 28th through the 30th of 2023. For the fourth consecutive week in first, the Super Mario Brothers movie, bringing in another.
I don't think it has legs, guys.
$40.8 million, becoming the first movie of 2023 to gross over $1 billion. Still in 4,200 theaters.
Yeah.
$1.044 billion worldwide.
Yeah, it might not make
$4 billion. I don't care. I want it to just keep going, just so I can keep making these jokes.
No, it's been great fodder. Gives me a smile every time I see it. It did a lot better than I predicted it to do. I thought it would cap out around $850 million.
Yeah, I feel like even the optimistic estimates, it's like overshadowed.
So I can't say that I'm like not surprised either.
Still, it's gonna go down.
Okay, Jake was just very still.
Failures.
I guess it's weird that this movie, the only thing that's weird about this movie doing so well is that like it's not a very good movie, and for like just a simple kids movie to do so well, I guess a part of it is just like how much curiosity is garnered from so many different adults that go and see like, oh yeah, I mean it was cool to see it in the big screen, but like, one and done.
I honestly think that for us as adults, it's it's very simple, and there's a lot of things that don't make it a good movie for us. But like for a kid, like the way it's paced and the way it's shot, like I feel like Illumination has those techniques on lock.
That is
because whenever I hear people talking about this movie, they're like, yeah, no, my kid wants to go back and see it like 5 times.
So I wonder if Illumination knows something that we don't about an addictive way to animate a movie and to pace a movie.
Well, I mean,
specifically for kids to be like, oh yeah, we can do this.
I don't think it's some arcane secret. I think it's just having like, this is going to be really weird to say, but having the courage to appeal to the lowest common denominator.
I don't know, man.
And really just gunning for making the McDonald's of film.
Illumination sounds way too close to Illuminati, and
the Minions have one eye, just like the pyramid.
Yeah, how many goats were sacrificed to make these movies and to put the arcane essence into this Illumination picture, so that our kids would be addicted?
About 350.
Everybody's so concerned about grooming, but we're just grooming our kids to watch Illumination pictures and take in and absorb their
Everyone's concerned about
messages.
Grooming, but realistically, you should have your dog groomed at least once a year.
Unless you got a Tibetan Mastiff, then it's like a little bit more. But
I said at least. Certain dogs require professional grooming.
Yeah.
Especially if they're a show dog.
Yeah, gotta cut around that dick hair very carefully.
The spout hair.
That's the Mario movie.
That is the Mario movie. It's the spout hair of movies.
In number 2, Evil Dead Rise. Not rising, staying exactly where it is at number 2 for 2 weeks. It's all 2s, 2 with current worldwide gross of 92 million. It made 12 million this week, a little down by half from last week, but in a couple more theaters. So kind of hitting the middle of its stride here.
Yeah,
which I'm sure it'll float around for quite a while.
I'm not sure what actually
until Guardians of the Galaxy 3 pops into theaters and knocks it out.
Well, yes. Well, no. When this show airs, it'll be out already. Let's take it. Well, the first Evil Dead had a budget of $17 million. The estimated budget for Evil Dead Rise is between $15 and $19 million. So already extremely profitable. Warner Brothers doing well for itself there. Opening in third this week, we have Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, the classic Judy Blume book about little girls. $6.7 million opening weekend there for 3,300 theaters.
Solid. Lionsgate making another moderately successful hits.
$9 million bread
and butter.
Far. It is not releasing internationally, or at least hasn't as of yet. The 40th anniversary re-release of Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi managed to open in fourth on this very slow week for the box office.
In 400 theaters.
Yeah.
Which those theaters must have been fucking packed.
Crushed per theater average. Like, beat out, it's the highest per theater average out there this week.
So I don't know what happened. I don't know if some of those might have been like Star Wars celebrations where people were paying like $300 a ticket.
Huh.
Possibly.
I saw it was showing in my when I went back up to Buffalo. I saw it was showing in Regal.
It was showing at our Regal as well.
Yeah.
I just didn't go because I'm not sure what version was gonna be shown, and
True.
I don't like every version of that movie.
I think we all know what version is going to be shown. It's going to be definitely that remastered digital BS that George Lucas used to get back at his bitch ex-wife.
The question is if Disney remastered it today with their current VFX squad, would it look any better than the mid-2000s remasters?
That's a good point.
Probably not. That fucking the music number in Jabba's Palace is just so gratuitous.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
And it's so crazy to watch the original version of the movie where it's just one guy playing the piano in the corner because it's like a fucking crack den.
Yeah. Boy.
Wait. John Wick Chapter 4 moves down a spot to fifth, $4.8 million in its sixth week, bringing its total gross worldwide to $403 million. So another successful movie there for Mr. Wick. Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, now available for purchase on digital. Has
support Wizards or not?
Well, support Wizards will send their fucking goon squad after you.
Yeah, if you don't go see this, the Pinkertons are going to show up at your house and force feed you this movie.
Make a fucking Jake. What kind of check would you have to make to keep the Pinkertons from fucking finding your secret cards? Like a bluffing charisma check or something.
You would pull a deception check, and I don't know what you would do. I mean, they would have to roll a high enough perception check in order to stealth to find it if you hide it. So yeah, you'd have to make a deception check to say, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
No,
I have no idea.
Oh no!
And obviously, despite having a YouTube channel, our character in that encounter did not have the charisma.
No, he did not. But he managed to get 2-pack openings out, which for this set was enough.
Was everything. Yep.
2 box openings, sorry. Was enough. He didn't need the 20 other boxes that I believe he had.
However, there are 50 cards, but there are like 7 versions of each card.
Yeah. I watched somebody break down how many different different showcase
treatments,
special treatments, foil and non-foil,
extended art,
showcase bullshit. Frame.
Oh, what was that tweet from the head of Star City Games where he's like, "Yeah, this 50 card set has 393 SKUs."
Yeah. That's...
Anyone see a problem there?
I don't see any
problem. Just keep making little tiny draft sets, which holy fuck, this is what a disaster. What a disaster.
I have a problem with like commander specific cards being in this set that's standard legal and like really serves no purpose. Man, this Aftermath is going to be a flop.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with this. We can talk about this more.
Yeah, because Commander Masters got leaked as well, or revealed.
But Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves was a modest financial success for Paramount. They're bringing in $195 million worldwide, so it should cross over $200 million before it wraps up its theatrical run there, which is a $50 million profit, so not huge. But
this is one of the things where I think they may have been modest, taking a chance with, and they might up the ante for the second one. If they decide to go with it, and I think the second one could do even better. It's where I think they get into like the third movie territory that they probably could jump the shark. But
I feel like when we reviewed Dungeons and Dragons, I feel the same way I do now, that it is a opportunity. It's a great film franchise to have because you can have the stories be discrete. It can be like the Final Fantasy of movie series, where there's 18 Dungeons and Dragons movies, but they're not following all the same linear story progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be the good way to do it. We'll see.
In seventh is Air, which is held on in theaters a lot longer than I thought it would, but it's
people are saying Air is really good. I don't
it. I've been meaning to go see it. I have been meaning to go see it, but now I'm not sure I'm going to have the opportunity to because I got summer movie season, baby. They're going to come hot and heavy, and then next month I have to block out many days to my many viewings of Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, we're gonna watch the shit out of that.
Um,
Just what we're not gonna watch the shit out of is Punyan Selvan. Punyan Selvan
Part 2.
Part 2.
Which opened in
I don't even think we saw Part 1 show up in the box office at all. If we did,
Not
it
that I
just
recall.
passed me by. But it is our spotlight this week.
Yes, it is. There's a spotlight, and as such, we seek the opinions of professional reviewers first, which this movie is reviewing quite well. It's got an 88.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd, whatever that is. But that's not important what these people think. What the only people who matter in this world are the real reviewers who exhibit their pure real reviewer traits on a weekly basis or daily basis, even minute by minute. Real reviews pour in from real reviewers on IMDb. And we here at Saturn Studs don't feel that these people get the recognition they deserve for their heroic contribution to our society. But we try to spotlight them where we can, such as Maximus Soonley. Dash 72513. He had this to say about Punyan Selvan Part 2. 10 out of 10. A classic, not to be missed. Now, pay close attention to the way that this is punctuated. Really liked the way, the titular character is not a superhuman, but a brave, noble warrior king who is often saved by his trustworthy comrades and admirers, from the jaws of death! Exclamation mark.
Yes. Triumph.
It's high time, men are shown as they are gullible, sensitive, emotional, and prone to illness, death, or injury. Period.
You know that classic male stereotype doesn't get sick.
Never dies. Never gets hurt. The characters played by Jaman Ravi and Vikram are conveyed through realistic and believable situations and scenes. That made no fucking sense. Aishwarya had the best. I apologize for butchering all these names. I swear to God, I'm trying my best.
It's our. I mean, that's just a standing disclaimer.
Yeah,
that we don't speak a fraction of the language. We will butcher any given name.
Try our best. We really tried. We had no idea how to pronounce a professor of ours last name. It was Indian. Anyway, Aishwarya had the best screen space, and she did complete justice to her roles. Period. Her majestic personality and acting calibre. It's supposed to be caliber, but they misspelled it.
Well, that's how you spell caliber in that context.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the English
spelling.
Yeah, maybe it's the English spelling. Maybe. Shone brighter than the diamonds she wore, while essaying the character of Nandini.
The great Nandini.
The great Nandini. Trisha Cake walked through the movie with a beautifully written character, Kudavai, a princess who was keen to safeguard her family and kingdom from the evil designs of their enemies. The three siblings, played by Vikram, Trisha, and Jamin Ravi, share an awesome screen presence when they appear together in an important scene. Karithi, Ashwaya Lakshmi, and all have given their best to their roles, and HV come out with the flying colors. 0 out of 1 found that helpful. Gee, I wonder why. Was it perhaps the difficulty in parsing the run-on sentences?
What you got for us, Jake?
All right. We got 1 out of 10. What a load of tripe. I can't do any accent because I want to get these names right. From Kaya Natarajan. My review for the first movie was titled "Purists Will Be Upset." This should have been titled "Purists Will Die." Oh, okay. What? Wait, what?
Most restrained Indian
Yes.
film review.
I have an immense respect for Mr. Manaratnam as a filmmaker. Technically, I do not have any qualms. The cinematography, the costumes, the art design, etc., are fabulous. The actors excel in their craft and deliver what is required of them. But I seriously wonder how many among these actors have actually read the book and thought, what is happening here? Just ask some questions.
What's going on?
What's happening here?
So what's the deal? So what's all this then?
If you haven't read the book and you wouldn't mind it, unfortunately, I have, and this book deserves better. The movie and the first should probably not have been named after the book by Mr. Kalki Krishnamurthy. 7 out of 14 found that helpful.
And again, we're not in any way trying to be disrespectful. We're sincerely doing our best to pronounce these names.
We all live on this earth. You know, I'm going to quote Andrew Cuomo here. Like, I am black. I am gay. I am disabled. And coming together in the middle, like Rajat Sawant here with his 4 out of 10. No momentum, dry and lazy. Don't watch in theater, and certainly not with 4DX. I would never watch with 4DX anyway. That's the one with the shaky seats and like the little foot ticklers and the bubbles and shit. Screenplay, worst. No momentum. There is no emotional connection from one scene to another. Anything is happening without any context. The only screenplay that is understandable is with Nandini and Aditya, and they have very little screen time. Story? Well, I don't know the original story, but this one is not satisfactory. Acting. Vikram was good, but not much screen time. None of the characters are explored to their full potential. All of them have the same note from start to finish. Music? I don't remember any songs in the movie. Direction? Mani Ratnam is out of touch with the craft. 8 out of 12 found that helpful. Just right on
it. Okay. Well, fuck all that noise. Go pin off Mick. Go pin off Mick says this about Pani and Selvan Part 2. 10 out of 10. Better than PS1? Worth watching the movie. Warning spoilers. I watched both PS1 and PS2. Before watching PS2, I saw reviews saying it is slower than PS1, so I didn't have much expectations. But guess what happened?
Put so much more tech dev time into it.
Yeah.
Processing speed.
Guess what happened? It is really, really better than PS1, and story is well narrated. Huge drawbacks of PS1 is many people didn't understand the story and its character, but PS2 is easily understandable by everyone who didn't read the novel. Vikram and Aishwarya Rai acts as the two pillars in this movie. Specifically, their love scenes before Vikram getting killed is mind-blowing. Oh, so he's very horny, I see. Vikram acting and his more screen presence is the huge plus for this movie. Kothari did his role well as usual. Ravi's performance is good, even though less screen time. Trisha can be seen in 2 or 3 scenes. This is expecting according to novel. Overall, a movie worth watching and surely a better sequel. 0-1 found that helpful.
1 out of 10. Leftover trash from PS1. Saru 2020 says this is nothing but a leftover from PS1. Literally just leftover trash. It reminds me of Vishwarupam too. The film is so flat and dry, it makes my mama cry and doesn't engage or attract. They didn't say that part. And engage and attract you in a way at all. It is just a gimmick by the makers to make money out of it.
He's cracked the code, guys. Send the Pinkertons after him.
The smartest IMDb user review. A.R. Rahman seems to have gotten bored and missed giving even a good song or even a good BGM score. There's just no work at all done by him or this film, which is really disappointing. Half the visuals shown in this part were already conveyed in some form from the first part itself, and there are just a handful of scenes that could easily be fitted into the first part itself. And this part could have been very easily avoided, but the filmmakers are so filthiest people that they've seen Bahabu Bahabu.
You got it there, Jay?
Doris.
Bahubali model having worked with two parts, they wanted to deliberately make it into two parts and earn money out of it. There's literally nothing in this film except for a few scenes, and if you're really a fan of the PS book, then I'd suggest you avoid watching it since it'll only blur your imagination of its story. Mani Ratnam should really consider retiring from now for the sake of his sanity. 16 out of 31 found that helpful. Bahubali.
Yeah, I think that's like that's a movie that I've seen like pop up here. I think it was like a comedy, I think.
It was the two A's that threw me off.
Bahubali.
Finally here.
Again,
from O'Connell
all
Mummy.
meant with the most respect.
Yeah. All the respect.
4 out of 10 review. Now I picked this one out because it's a pretty normal review, but there's one line at the end which I think is a really excellent point. Like I'm actually going to put some respect on this reviewer here.
Put some respect on the name.
But 4 out of 10. End of Mani Ratnam. Movie marks the end of the Mani Ratnam era. He lacks the tricks or patience required for the movie adaptation of the book. Modern cinematography is beyond Mani's style. But was much required for the movie. Had he focused only on the romance side of the characters, we would have had less hate toward the director. But he wanted to stuff more to make sense and tried to cut short scenes, and in the end, none made sense. Mani, please stick to your style. There are many efficient directors now who have learned from you. P.S. Cast wouldn't have mattered if you thought the movie could have done justice to the book. 0 out of 1. I want to give that such praise, that line. The cast, if the adaptation is good, the cast shouldn't matter.
Yeah, that's a very cogent and valid point.
I'm looking at you, Mario movie.
Surprising to see it come from the most unlikely of spaces.
There's gems of wisdom out here. Real reviewers, they hold the secrets to the universe.
They're like hares. They've seen the secrets of the universe. Yeah. In 9th, we have Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, which fell 6 spots despite opening in 20 more theaters.
Precipitous drop.
Down 43.6%. It's made $13 million worldwide. So I think it might not out-earn Rudiger.
That would be, you know what? Well, which I don't know. That would kind of hurt. It feels like choosing between your kids. But if you had to pick one to succeed,
I haven't seen The Covenant yet, so I can't say for sure. I need to see it still. I should go to the movies today.
Go hit a couple different ones. Yeah.
Fuck it. I'm gonna go to the movies today.
Yes.
If
you want to watch GOG 3, I'll join you.
We'll let's look at showtimes and see if we can maybe do a double feature. Sisu rounds out the top 10, which is about
That's the Nazi killer.
The Nazi killer Swiss man.
I'm really surprised we didn't want to do Big George Foreman, the miraculous story of the once and future heavyweight champion of the world as our spotlight film.
That's the name of my new indie album.
I like it.
Yeah. It's the George Foreman gun, George Foreman. Name all his kids George Foreman.
Yeah. Beau is Afraid is at 13, doubling its theater total.
5-minute review, Jake.
5-minute review. Where to begin? I really like Meat Canyon's review of it, which was
I think that says a lot. That already says a lot about it.
There's a lot in that sentence to unpack.
Yeah, it's either a 2 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, depending on who you are and how much you want to look into it. I think this movie resonates with a really specific audience. So in terms of like getting like the entirety of the movie to really be like, wow, he really liked me for real. I don't think there's a lot of people who are going to be like that. You know, Joaquin Phoenix makes an incredible performance as an agoraphobe with mommy issues. You could have sussed out that in the trailer. The nice part about this is that it was broken up and paced pretty well for how it was like a 2.5-hour movie. It was long, and you're like, holy shit, when will this come to end? But like, the thing that this movie and Ari Aster just in general does really well with his movies is making you feel kind of on pins and needles the entirety of the movie. Midsommar did that really well, and this kind of borrows from that in the sense that you kind of feel Beau's anxiety through the score and through what's happening on scene. The visuals and the camera's perspective kind of makes you feel anxious almost the entirety of the movie, with exception, I would say, to the third act when it gets really trippy, and you start going through this like you start going from the perspective of his imagination.
Okay.
We saw that in the trailer where he like kind of teleports to another world. And it all makes sense. The one thing that the trailer did was it was like, wow, this makes no fucking sense at all. It makes a lot of sense in the movie when the context is there. So there's not a lot of like, why are they doing this for the sake of doing it?
Okay.
Which is good. It's not like there's a lot of fluff that is, you could say, oh, that didn't serve a purpose. But there's a good amount of Chekhov's guns, and the twist is pretty nice. I like the twist. I had it spoiled for me ahead of time, so going into it, I didn't get the full reaction of probably what the audience had of the big reveal at the end, but it was good. It was fucking weird, like really, really weird. I don't think there's a movie gonna be like this made in a long, long time. I also hope there isn't, because I don't know. You walk out of this movie just saying, fuck, like, that's heavy. And that's a once in a blue moon kind of movie that you want to see. You don't want to just go see shit that makes you feel like awful all the time. So
that's true.
Marvel serves a purpose sometimes.
Sometimes you need to watch that superhero make a clip.
Yeah, sometimes you need to watch, Ponyan Selvin Part 2, just to have a little uplifter. But yeah,
watch the end of Mani Ratnam's career.
It was quite a movie.
Yeah, we did. We spotlighted Beau is Afraid last week, and it sounded wild from the reviews.
I mean, this isn't much of a spoiler, but like just some of the absurdity that they bring into it that's like not real is like, and they make mention of it. They show it in like one scene where like his balls are really big, like really big, like they're softball size balls. And it's like they make mention to it like 3 times and they show it. It's just like, what the fuck?
They show his gigantic
why? I mean, the reasoning behind it is also absurd and not like true, but it's. I'm just remembering certain scenes in that movie. It's a trip, dude. It is a trip. Get really, really high before you see it, or don't. I don't know. I don't know what's the right, because if you get really high,
sit down for 3 hours.
But you might die.
It's true.
This is not a good trip.
I
don't
gone
think I
to
would
the
let
movies.
Joaquin Phoenix be my trip sitter.
I've gone to the movies high before, and if it's the wrong movie, you're you can feel very, very overwhelmed, and it's not a pleasant experience.
I almost think you should be like stone cold sober. just call your mom after and just apologize or something. I don't know. Call your dad, say you're thankful for him. Hey, thanks for being around.
Thanks for being a pal.
Want to thank you for
and I think that does it for the follow-up, right?
Yep, just about diddly done there.
Cool.
Let's go.
I'm excited for this next part because our video game news segment. Because I did we did like a journalism and a little continuity here.
Yeah.
I'm following up on some stuff that I even marked out what we were doing. And I'm gonna preface this when I introduce what we're talking about, to say no peeking, because it's gonna be exciting. The strong 2023 Video Game Hall of Fame finalists have been picked, or the inductees have been picked. Again, the candidates this year were Barbie Fashion Designer, Quake, Wii Sports, Age of Empires, the FIFA series, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, Wizardry, Computer Space, Angry Birds, Last of Us, NBA 2K, and GoldenEye for N64. Now, I think we settled in on Quake and or Computer Space, right?
I think Quake and or Wii Sports, but also noted that Computer Space, for historical purposes, should be inducted.
Yeah. So again, there were 4 inductees, one of which was the community pick. And the article I have here does not say which one was the community pick.
Okay.
I don't know if they reveal that. But here are the winners this year. Barbie Fashion Designer, Last of Us, Wii Sports, and Computer Space. What a selection.
I still maintain Last of Us, it's too soon. And I think that's probably the community pick, and it's probably buoyed by the fact the show came out. If I had to make a guess, I would say that's probably how that broke.
Probably. I'm really surprised by Barbie Fashion Designer because I grew up there. I have a sister, but that was never around that. So I don't know how much of an impact that made to people who had that game.
Must have been pretty big. Was
it like the first Barbie game, maybe?
Maybe. I'm not sure. We'd have to look at I'm sure they have a blurb about it on the website. I mean, Quake's going to get in eventually. A little surprised it wasn't this year, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's the one I voted for. I was like, yeah, Quake, put it in. But I want it to come back. I really do, because I think it deserves, even with Doom already being in there, Quake was enough of a difference.
Yeah, Quake was a big enough evolution. Quake brought multiplayer competitive shooters to a forefront. Like, there was deathmatching in Doom, but it was very basic and rudimentary. It was not the focus at all like it was with Quake.
Yeah. And I'm glad Computer Space got in there. I think it's important to the history.
Yeah,
so, I mean, IMO, it's a good selection. I think I agree that the sports franchises were just not there enough to get in.
Yeah, it definitely seems like
I would
was
not want to see those in the list.
A good mix of something historical, something inclusive, something arguably revolutionary with Wii Sports, and then something popular.
Yeah. So a good spread there. The kind of companion to this is Strong Museum is going to close down for a little bit to renovate, and I think as I see it, the renovation is to build the World Video Game Hall of Fame
Oh, the
space.
actual Hall of Fame. That's
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's going to be
So
I think we should maybe plan a little trip out to Rochester.
to
Yeah.
Rochester.
And
Hell yeah! It's June 30th.
Do a little on location show. You know what? Actually, that'd be interesting. We should at some point reach out to Strong Museum of Play and see if they'd be willing to let us do that.
I'll be in Buffalo in July. Beginning of July.
Convene in the old Brick City. Go get some Jenny Creams.
Go to a Denny's.
Oh, just like old times, baby. Just like old times. So yeah, that's coming this summer. VG Hall of Fame.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
What else we got?
So this has kind of been a big week for gaming. Big in terms of like a lot of controversial things happening. Controversial, shitty things happening. I don't know. I'll start off with Redfall. Redfall dropped as a $70 game. I don't remember really hearing about this. I think I
don't even know what this is. Yeah.
So Redfall it's a game that they've been advertising to me on Game Pass for a while, and I have it downloaded just to see how bad it actually is. But it is from Arcane Austin, who are some of the same people who spun off the original Left 4 Dead team at Turtle Rock. And this was their big co-op shooter that they were going to push out there. And even from Jump Street, like the first looks at the game, people were like, this doesn't look particularly great for being a next-gen experience. And then we get a little further down, and it didn't show up enough on my radar to pick it over some other stories a couple weeks ago. But a couple weeks ago, a story was put out that it was going to run at a locked 30 frames per second on Xbox.
Locked 30 on PC?
On Xbox.
Oh, okay. I mean, still on next gen Xbox.
Then the PC port comes out, and it is just a fucking mess. And this has been a really bad year for AAA releases on PC. And that's kind of like, I'm going to horn in here because that was my story. It's just the terrible fucking string of PC releases this year. So I'm glad you brought this up. We can kind of combo attack this story. And just like, it's not a good looking game in the best of times, and for it to perform this poorly on even relatively modern hardware. I haven't gotten a look at to see what my performance is on a fairly high end machine, but I've heard people with like 4080s and until 13th gen trying desperately to play with it to keep the frame rate consistent.
Yeah.
And just having no luck.
Also there's tons of bugs, glitches, and issues with the game that are more common than usual. I mean, bugs and stuff like that you're always going to have, but even if you separate bugs from just like the AI performing like fucking rocks in the game, like there's stuff of like the enemies breaking, not being able to find you, their pathfinding is all over the place, people teleporting around and not like it's game breaking. It's breaking the immersion, it's breaking the game, it's breaking the fluidity of it, and it's not a good, like the cutscenes are, unless this was an artistic choice, every cutscene is more of a slideshow that just pans through and it's all still images. It's not like a cinematic that you're watching. They didn't even animate it. So then you get into the game and you're walking around and you're fighting between vampires and humans, and it's just it's goofy. I don't know. It's goofy. It seems very bland for a $70 what should be like a AA or a AAA title. it just doesn't feel good.
It's a miss, plain and simple. It's a miss from the jump, and it's not a great look for Microsoft, who's had a string of these not so great releases recently.
Yeah, and then you have right on its heels Jedi Survivor coming out with
the de novo crippling it.
With similar issues, day one patches to try to fix what they can, FPS issues all across the board. You have
I've seen stories of streamers who just can't stream the new game that looks fun to play because of the performance issues caused by the DRM.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Is that like the minimum DRM that's required is like 8 gigs of VRAM that's required is like 8 gigs of VRAM.
So the worst part of that, I'm glad you brought up their recommended spec, because when it launched, EA put out a statement in typical EA fashion, not taking any responsibility for the state of the game, and they blamed people using Windows 10 with new CPUs designed for like the more advanced thread scheduler Windows 11. Despite the fact that if you go to the recommended specs for Jedi Survivor, Windows 10 64-bit is the recommended operating system.
Yeah. Also, it's a bulky fucking game. It's coming in at 155 gigabytes.
Dude, fucking
loaded AAA game. It ain't so.
It's something for like the download, and then you also have like this massive gig like. Either I forgot what it is. There's like 2 sets of like downloads that you have to go through. Maybe it might be like the install speed, or I forgot what it was. But
hey, game developers, remember when there was a time where you could take a big fucking file and that would take up all the space in your hard drive? We put those in like a different little thing that held all of that data, and you connected it with your game console. And it just had to read it and run the programs on it. We called them cartridges or CDs. Those are cool. Those are good.
I mean, you're not seriously advocating for going back to CDs, right? It's much faster running off a hard drive.
I don't know, man. Like,
sure,
it's faster.
They need to put in effort. No, the thing is, they're not. I think largely because they don't have time, they're not taking the time to like compress assets and like clean up code to make the game smaller. Like Redfall, which looks worse than Titanfall 2, a game that came out in 2015, is a 94 gigabyte install.
Right. Just I like the optimization is huge. Like, but if you're gonna rush these out, like I don't know. I almost feel like it's intentional to like, here's this giant game that you can't hold any other games on your fucking computer or console.
I forgot who it was. It was either
shit you can only play hours.
It was either a statement from EA or a statement from the Arcane, the developers for Redfall. One of them was offered a delay. Hey, do you want a delay to finish the project? They said no. I think it was Survivor that they said no. We're ready. This is something we're happy about releasing. So they like knowingly release this game and willingly release this game in an unfinished state to where it's people are buying it, wanting to return it, or not being able to play it right away. I mean, I have a friend who can play it. I don't know what his system specs are. He's having a good time with it on PC. I don't know what his FPS is regularly, but
I've heard in recent days they've put out some patches that have really helped the performance.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of people who are having a real bad time with it, there are just like straight up things that are broken. Like if you turn FSR on or off rather, it doesn't actually turn it off. It sets it to the lowest internal render resolution. And your game looks like shit. But a lot of people who are struggling the most are people with slightly older hardware and VRAM. all these games that have come out this year just chew through VRAM. So people who have like 8 GB cards that they bought last generation, like the 3070 and the 3060 Ti, all these cards that only had 8 GB of VRAM are really running up against it in things like Hogwarts Legacy and The Last of Us Part 1. Granted, a lot of that is probably due to terrible optimization. There's no reason some of these games should be using that much memory, especially with the level of fidelity they're achieving.
Yeah. As we said, just unoptimized.
And it's
loaded.
fucking unacceptable. Like, even if you as a company don't see the value in the PC market, you're still charging the same price and releasing the same day to that set of customers. They are just as deserving of a quality product. And if they're running below your minimum recommended specs, that's one thing. But if they're using what you yourself put out there as the recommended config and it still runs like ass, that's on you. And you need to fucking shape up. A lot of these games are running on Unreal Engine 4, which is very well understood. There are a lot of games that came out this year, like Hi-Fi Rush, that were also built in Unreal Engine 4 that run perfectly.
Beautiful, buttery smooth. Fucking if you can put out a rhythm action game on this engine, which I think is the most demanding because it has to because timing and speed is the most important aspect of those games.
Yeah, you can't have a stuttering mess in a rhythm game. It's just not going to be a good time for the player.
Exactly. So if you can make an engine perform to that level of quality, and that was a Bethesda game, right?
Shockingly, yes.
Yeah. So
I mean, shockingly, yes, the best,
Bethesda.
most polished. Yeah, it was published, not developed by them. But shockingly, yes, the most polished and well-working game to come out this year so far on PC was published by Bethesda. Although they quickly restored balance to the universe by putting out Redfall.
Yeah. So not a good look.
Definitely not.
Shape up, all video games.
They're just fucking project managers, and I'm excited to hopefully be bringing my Hi-Fi Rush review to you all soon.
Okay.
But they're one of the bosses in Hi-Fi Rush. The whole level is basically an allegory for video game development and how like overambitious project leads who are married to their creative vision create terribly unoptimized garbage because there's no time to actually program because they want changes all the time and they run out of money, they run over budget. It's fucking
that's
fantastic.
All right. Yeah, show us next week, baby. Next week. But this week we're catching up before we hit the summer movie slog. We are doing Mandalorian season 3. It's been finished for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, not too long.
So we'll catch it before it gets stale.
We're not too late to the party here.
Because I also don't think we're missing out on a lot of discussion.
No.
For this season, I have that kind of inkling.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about this. You know what this kind of feels like? And I wonder if this would be okay if this was the last Mandalorian season.
That's why I got that feeling too.
See,
for some reason, some other things point me in the direction of they definitely kept it open where they can just keep churning out shit if they wanted to.
Yeah, I would almost like to see what a 4th season looks like because they set that up as being, the continued adventures of Din and Grogu, which I mean, I have some thoughts on Grogu as a character and some opinions that are probably unpopular, even if they might be correct.
You hate to see it, but this is what peak Yaddle looks like.
And
well, it's weird. I mean, it's something where we've been to the future of Star Wars in terms of the sequels, and there was no Grogu, there was no
Yeah, you have to reconcile.
Din Djarin. So it's like, does he survive? Does he get killed? Is he just not doing anything? The same thing can be said with Ezra. Like, apparently Ahsoka and Ezra, and I don't know if they're trying to rewrite the sequels, which I'm not saying that's out of the question.
I mean,
but
necessarily the worst.
I don't think they are, because they did announce they're going to come out with another sequel series with Rey.
Yeah.
Not that's looking unlikely. There was a possibility that they could do some timey-wimey bullshit and not have Rey.
No one's ever really
thing. But so here's what I think. Mandalorian season 3 could be a good send-off for Mando and Grogu, and just say this is it for them, and we'll use them, sparingly. Like, he came in for the last 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett, and you could arguably say that was season 3 or season 2.5, where a lot of that time was spent with Grogu and Mando. But at the end of season 3, it's like, we could just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. But where's the end of it? And the thing that all season this was leading up to was more Mandalore and Mandalorian centric.
Yeah.
So maybe this brings in a new option where they could make a new show which centers around Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians and the Armorer, kind of establishing a new Mandalore. And that being a problem for the First Order that's going to rise up, because they're all season they've been planting seeds for the uprising of the First Order.
That's so. I kind of like that, in that if you wanted to fucking really make the First Order look, get them some actual ass heat and close up. If you really wanted to tighten up that canon, like if they defeated the newly rising Mandalore culture, the resurgent Mandalore culture, dude, that would be some actual heat. I just want to talk about the whole season, because like all this, I feel like all this stuff that we're interested in, thinking about, are kind of put in the last 2-3 episodes. There's a couple things here and there throughout the season, obviously, but I feel that until it kind of got to the end, this was, I'm not going to say
kind of
like
weird.
aimless. I don't think that's the right word for it. It's very much episodic in the way that a 90s TV show with like 26 episodes in it, that goes for a year, or 52 episodes goes, where you just have these kind of, it's back to those really one-off adventures.
Well, that's kind of how season 1 was played off as.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, I enjoy like the one-off adventures. I think the issue is that a lot of time was spent in this season on things other than Din. Like, he didn't feel like the main character of the show anymore.
I guess, yeah. My thing was, like, with this season was, what I didn't get a clear sense of the through line of the show, like the premise of the season. Like in season 1, like we said, it's a lot of episodic stuff, but they're all connected by that line of that very simple premise. Mando needs to find figure out what the deal is with this kid.
Yeah.
And he's on a quest to do that. And I don't feel like we got that in this season. Like,
they segmented it, because like there isn't one continuous arc. Like the furthest back you can see a planted seed is in the just really not the place for it, 3rd episode of the season. And the fact that ex-Imperial lady is still Imperial and a sleeper agent for Moff Gideon. That doesn't make sense till much later. You don't even like get the hint that Moff Gideon might still be out there until like midway through the season.
Yeah, and they even, we go to Mandalore in episode 2.
Yeah, so like
season.
that's the first arc, right? Is he needs to to purify himself in the living waters, and then that wraps up, and then it's like, okay, now Bo-Katan's story takes front and center, and she wants to reunite Mandalore. And
I guess I'm just surprised that they didn't take that chance to kind of plant the seed of like maybe there's a base there for the Empire, and they left it for this big reveal in the second to last episode, where it's like, why not just put a little thing, a little nugget? You do that all the time. You put these little nuggets, these breadcrumbs, leading us to the truth that could have a through line, and there were several things that just like didn't kind of make a whole lot of sense to the overarching episode, like Bo-Katan's castle getting blown up by all these Imperial ships, these TIE fighters and the bombers and stuff like that, the interceptors.
Mm-hmm.
Who did those belong to? That was never answered. Like it maybe Moff Gideon, but like
so yes, I think that's a very good point, Jake. Is that the Planet Mandalore early in the season and Planet Mandalore at the finale of the season feel almost like different planets in the content.
Yeah,
you know, there's a lot of opportunity to in kind of start the mystery that only really starts in earnest like 4 episodes before the end of the season, and then immediately gets paid off in the next 3 episodes. Have like you could have a mystery of these are Imperial ships, but there's no, like, if they were TIE fighters, but there was no deployment, like there's no Star Destroyer for them to deploy from, where did they come from? That would have been kind of a compelling mystery. Or something on but stuff in Mandalore that gave clues that like someone else was here. You could even say someone else was here, and you don't even say who. That way you can kind of do the first payoff in the final episode, I guess spoilers, with the crew from Planet, the survivors of Mandalore, and then it becomes a double twist as you find the bases there too.
Yeah, and there were a lot of things that they just kept bringing up that seemed like they were going to be bigger things, like the pirate, that never really paid off in the way that I think we expected it to.
Yeah, that was almost its own. I think they were trying to make that a payoff from an earlier season.
Maybe,
but again, it felt like it didn't have a good place in the overarching.
Yeah, the only purpose it served was it was the first time that all the covert had fought alongside Bo-Katan.
So the other thing that you find out, like, with supplemental information, is that pirate Gorian Shard, the guy who is really done up. He's an interesting looking character.
I love that character, and I love that ship.
Cool love ship. Everything about that. They blew it up though in the second episode, and you find out later that apparently he's going to be like the antagonist for the Skeleton Crew show that they're making. So
see, therein lies another issue I have with this season, is that it feels kind of like a later stage MCU movie, where instead of focusing on making a compelling story, you're using it to set up all these other things.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a comics book thing in general, right? Where it's like, if any given scene from the show, there's like the little rectangular box with the asterisk. See also Skeleton Crew episode 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we are getting to that point.
Bo-Katan's like stuff with Rebels and her connection to Ahsoka, and
like isn't her whole story arc in Clone Wars or Rebels, whatever, basically the exact same thing that happens in this season of the show?
I mean, it's similar. In Rebels, the Darksaber was a lot more. I mean, it was similar importance. It's whoever controls that, like, literally controls Mandalore. So that's when you see it go from who has it in the beginning? Tar Vizsla. I think Tar Vizsla. Paz Vizsla. Yeah, Tar Vizsla or Paz Vizsla. One of the descendants of like the original Mandalore has the Darksaber, and he started the Death Watch. And that's when the Jedis get involved in Clone Wars, and they have to kind of kick that out of it. And Bo-Katan takes it, and then she starts reuniting Mandalore in like Rebels. But the problem with that was in Rebels, Sabine Wren, who we'll see in the Ahsoka series, actually won that from Tar Paz Vizsla. I think it's Tar Vizsla, in a duel. So she technically is leader of Mandalore. She gave it to Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan is not the true owner of it, and some didn't see her as that. And then she got defeated by Moff Gideon, and he has it. He stole it from her, essentially. And this is the same Darksaber that was owned by Maul for a while, and he... The story of how they end up
a lot
getting
of
it...
retconning of Mandalorian lore.
I mean, the way that they got it from Maul is kind of dumb because Maul kind of just left it on Dathomir, and Sabine just found it and picked it up and took it. So that's kind of silly. He ended up getting it back and then killing Satine with it and taking control of Mandalore until he was defeated by Ahsoka later on. So Ahsoka defeated Maul, or captured Maul at least. There's a lot because they take a lot of stuff from Rebels, a lot of stuff from Clone Wars, with the changes in power from Mandalore. So it's very complicated, and they do essentially do that. Like Bo-Katan in season 2 says, "I need to beat Moff Gideon to take the Darksaber," but Din takes it, and then so now Din has it, but he can barely use it and utilize it in season 3. So it's like kind of a nothing burger. It's a fucking they don't use it. So but Bo-Katan is proficient with it. When she defeats the little spider monster that captured Din, that's when they use the fucking Reddit mod, by your logic, kind of debate lord shit and say, "Oh well, actually."
Well, that's immediately what I thought when he got captured. I'm like, this is the way that they're gonna write in him being able to hand it off.
And a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I could see them trying to do that, but that's a really like far out there theory. Like they're gonna definitely have Bo and Din fight or something like that, so they could, in front of everybody, prove that Bo won it a certain way."
Yeah. And like, I mean, as stupid as it was, I feel like everyone could have seen it coming because Bo doesn't, or I'm sorry, Din doesn't give a shit about the Darksaber. He never really has.
No.
So like, if I'm sure as they became closer, he would have been just like, "Here, take it," or like, "Yeah, let's fight. I concede. Here you go."
Yeah.
I think the one thing that the season did right is, and I as much as I feel bad about it, and I hope they can like still kind of bring it back in some essence, is they destroyed the Darksaber. And by destroying the Darksaber, they kind of just say, "Hey, you got to shut up with your traditional, like, whoever controls the Darksaber," because not everybody believes in that. Right. And I think that's one of the ways that they can unite the Mandalorian tribes is by saying, "Hey, let's take a little bit of your traditions, a little bit of your traditions, mush them together, and start becoming like the one true Mandalore."
In the old Mandalorian lore, whoever claimed Mandalore's helmet was the new Mandalore. I don't know why they felt the need to change that to the Darksaber. I feel like it makes a little more sense with how important helmets are to their culture to still have it be a helmet.
Maybe they'll get back there. Who knows?
I mean, could be that like whoever claimed the helmet means they probably killed them, so maybe it's a different interpretation of it.
Kind of how that worked.
They just kind of melded it into it being the Darksaber, being the thing that rules.
On a related note, does anyone feel like the Mandalorians as a fighting force and as a fighting people fell off this season also? Like there's a pretty good focus in the earlier seasons on the side web, like the arsenal of Mandalorians.
Yeah.
That was part of their charm, at least in the season, was like you could, they got all this cool shit like the whistling birds and they like the tether and like the flamethrower kind of hung around. But again, until like the end of the season, I was like, hey, wait, where's like the cool thing? Where's like the whistling birds? Where's the grapple hook? Yeah. Where's the flamethrower? And a lot of it's just them flying around in the jetpack, which is fine, and shooting stuff. Like, maybe he finds another disintegrator rifle or something. Like, and kind of related to that, Mando Din doesn't have like he should get a signature weapon.
Well, he
only
had
has
the spear and he lost it.
Yeah,
and he had the disintegrator rifle and he lost it.
Well, the armor kind of yelled at him for making a spear. He's like, yeah, we don't really do spears.
Yeah.
Okay. You shouldn't use Beskar for like a weapon. You should use Beskar for like armor or some other shit that you could use. So
and it's telling that Bo-Katan gets the fucking cool signature weapon because she gets the Force buckler
Force.
and sword and like the vibrant knife.
Yeah.
It seems like they all have like some sort of element. Like and I think this guy's Paz Vizsla, the big guy.
He gets a signature weapon too.
He gets
right?
the chain gun, which is dope. We all love that. Like back to season one of the amazing things, which maybe this made him more overpowered, is the fact that he had this gun that could like one shot kill people. And I think maybe it's a Disney choice to move away from that, to be like, we don't want our main guy, the good guy, kind of just murking people left and right.
After what they did to Boba Fett in Book of Boba Fett, I 100% can see that.
So that's what I'm thinking.
What? If you
that was more of a studio call.
If you want to give Din like his own thing, I think as would befit him.
They gave him the Jango Fett pistols at the end of this.
Yeah, I want him to have like a shotgun blaster or like a spread blaster. That would be fucking cool.
Yeah,
where it's got like multiple barrels and it's got a good spread. And you could, you could do like he could change it and have different spread settings for like horizontal spray or something or tight blast. Like that would be cool.
Yeah.
And let him have something that is like his own. Cause again, he's just like, he's one of the guys in this season.
I think if they use more of his like whistling birds, I think that would be definitely the sign to be like, oh yeah, he has like still his own, individuality when compared to like the other helmeted Mandalorians that are powerful when they need to be, weak when they don't need to be. So that was, I got a bit of inconsistency out of their like power level and how much they could either be just like slapped around or just be a dominating force.
Let's talk about those dark troopers. So I think we should just we can get to kind of the end of the season here. There's some little standout things during it, like the Lizzo Jack Black Mando Vice episode,
and
whatever.
That whole thing was so weird.
They all have it, though.
Right.
I kind of liked the like hard-boiled detective cop angle, but they just were like so silly with it, and like it didn't seem like they were winking at the camera, like they were lampshade hanging. It felt like they were being genuine, but it was just so silly.
I mean, I think Jack Black and Lizzo's characters were definitely going for it, where they're just like playing like space croquet, and she's like, "Oh, let me hold the thing." That feels like it kind of, honestly, it feels to me kind of like a Make-A-Wish thing or a Make-A-Wish cameo, where it's like they really wanted to be in Star Wars and they talked to someone. They said, "Oh, we'll put you in episode like 6, and you'll get to be the Space Duke and Duchess, and we'll let you your character hold Grogu for a little bit, and you'll play, whatever, and you get to have dialogue scenes."
And it was somewhat interesting to have like hear the perspective of a separatist.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that's what that episode what is overlooked a lot of the times from like,
because it comes at the end of the
Lizzo
episode as like
Black.
one set of dialogue. Yeah, but it's really interesting.
Yeah, because they bring up the separatists and it's like, oh yeah, there's still that aspect of this. Like there's still scars from the Clone Wars existing, because we're not that far off. We're only like 20 something years or something like that, or 15 years from the end of the Empire. It's like, yeah, we have this building New Republic to try to pick up the pieces after the Empire like dissolved, combating that, and also combating a lot of like the sentiments from the Clone Wars. I mean, they bring it up in A New Hope that like, oh yeah, you were in the Clone Wars. I remember, or I've heard of those. I've read about that, and galaxy wide, there's got to be a ton of places that still.
I also like
have
that
issues with it.
like Chris Lloyd's character is like age appropriate to what a separatist would be at this point in the Star Wars timeline. If they were like in their 20s during the height of the Clone Wars.
And not to bring back like Survivor or even like Rebels and Clone Wars, but those shows and the game, they make callbacks a lot to like the Clone Wars, especially with Survivor, where the droids are now repurposed as like bounty hunters and other like military units. So they're back in that aspect of being the enemy and being repurposed, because you have all these droids left over from the Separatists. What are you going to do with them? And we saw that in that show with
obviously Jake, you turn them into mechs.
Yeah. Grogu.
You make little tiny mechs.
It's like,
all right,
is this a mecha anime?
I guess that's a good point as any. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I really think Grogu should have stayed with Luke. And if you were going to bring him back, you should have waited a longer period of time for him to come back, so his impact had more resonance.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, Kristen wouldn't have watched it as much, but again,
it really feels
he's a
like
very
Grogu
popular,
grows at the speed of the plot.
Very like cute character, and I understand like because of his popularity, their hesitance to cut him out from the show. But I think narratively, that was the right decision.
They got themselves into a corner that's hard to get out of. They created a character too popular, too marketable, too sneeze for. They created a character that was too popular to like do anything like detrimental with, and you could see that struggle in season 2 where they're like, oh, this is like a really good opportunity, and it makes too much sense to stay with Luke.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can you imagine Grogu training with Yoda's lightsaber? Oh,
awesome, cool, fangasm. Cut to the Star Wars Celebration footage of crowds of people cheering.
And then, maybe they have like a weird aging curve, and he like becomes an adolescent, in after a few years of training. And maybe you space out the plot of this season a little bit more to give there some room to breathe. Or maybe like a third season is Din's solo adventures, and then maybe in the fourth season we start the Take Back Mandalore plot. And you do that as a season-long plot, and then Grogu comes back to save Din towards the end of that season to pay off that plot line because of all the times Din saved Grogu.
And you get to have the heroic, familiar returning character moment that is classic, stand up and clap material.
Yeah. Have him come back with Yoda's lightsaber.
In this season, awesome. he's just as good at force powers now, and he's grown up and can do stuff.
Although I did enjoy the fight scene though, where he's been playing keep away with Moff Gideon's troops, and then when Jin comes and he's outnumbered, and he's like calling assist with Grogu and force pushing their weapons away.
Yeah.
Like, I like that.
How did you feel about the reveal of Moff Gideon's plans to make clones of himself?
I enjoyed that they tried to explain why he was so interested in the child in the first place. I feel like it's kind of them trying to fill in the somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah. It's
I immediately jumped to marketing shit just like that, and also I was like, as soon as I'm like, oh okay, so they're gonna kill him this season, right? So that he can come back as a clone whenever you need him, and another season to show up.
Well, you also don't see a body, so no body, no death.
Yeah. That was the instantaneous reaction to that was, oh, we just saw clones of him, and people started speculating that this one didn't have a mustache or something like that, and they noticed that Moff Gideon usually has a mustache, and all the clones were mustache-less.
Right, but then what was the point of breaking that whole breakout thing? Which that was a total weird misdirection for me because they didn't pay that off either. Where they end the episode before that one was saying, "Oh, possibly a Mandalorian broke Moff Gideon out," and it turns out it was like the Dark Troopers or whatever. But I thought they were setting it up as a frame job,
A lot
so
of
that
people,
the Mandalorians that just kind of got together will have internal kind of struggle about who freed him, who betrayed them, and also kind of destroy the fostering or newly created bond with the Republic and with the free people of Navarro. And
yeah,
drama, conflict. Yes,
I saw a lot of fan theories that wanted it to be revealed that the armorer was Moff Gideon's person on the
Remember
inside. But I
they
never
called the
thought that would
episode
make
"The
a lot of
Spies"
sense.
and there wasn't a spy?
Yeah.
Well, I guess there was what I got from it was like there was only one spy, and the episode was called "The Spies," plural. Because the only spy they brought up in that was the Elia Kane on Coruscant. She was the spy for the New Republic from Moff Gideon. And it seemed like Moff Gideon had known about the different factions of Mandalorians and was asking about them, like which one was it specifically. So if you want to think, oh, maybe it's a different Mandalorian is another spy for Moff Gideon, then okay, that makes sense. But all the likely suspects never revealed themselves to be the spy.
Yeah. And you had plenty of people you could have picked from that would have been believable.
You had Armor, you had Axe Woves, you had the other girl who like the
Sasha Banks's character.
Sasha Banks, yeah. So
she's Mercedes Monet now.
Oh, I see.
So you had her who could potentially be like a spy. She makes reference to like, hey, you can buy Mandalorians for money. Like, just depends on how much coin you got, how many credits you got. So
Khajiit has wares if you have coin.
Yeah. So like, they definitely set it up for there to be an informant in the Mandalorians, but they never paid it off. I guess it's whatever. Maybe it would have been too clunky, too complicated, too convoluted to include that in there with all their plans at the end.
Well, they dedicated a whole episode to two characters that we had never fucking seen before and had no reason to care about at the time. So.
No, that made all the sense in the world. What are you talking about? To just like depart from Mando as in halfway through the season and
remember this guy from season 1? Yeah. Not an economic use of their screenplay.
They had plenty. Yeah, they wasted plenty of time with this season. They could have done a lot more narratively, and it would have been much better for it.
Yeah, they really wharfed out their Dark Troopers for sure.
What do you mean they killed Chain Gun Guy?
Yeah. But
the Dark Troopers didn't even do that. They did the it was the Praetorian Guard.
Which I really like the Praetorian Guard in this.
Okay, I guess I had conflated them.
Yeah. But I didn't know the difference either.
It's because they only show up for they only do 2 things in this shit.
Yeah.
But they're really good at it, and like, man, I wish I get like it makes the Praetorian Guard in episode 8 make a little more sense. I like that kind of thing where their express purpose is to jump the fuck out of one dude and just kill the fuck out of them. Like, why? We're not here to fend off big numbers. We're here.
We are
to
a hit squad.
Draw and quarter you from the corner. Like, we're here for the run-in. When it's the 2 count. And
we're what you call the hot tag
Guard from downstage.
They're the hot tag.
Yeah. And they do their job really fucking well. But the Dark Troopers, they try and hype them up with, they have Beskar armor. But then the Mandalorians just still fight them off with regular efficiency anyways. Like, it really should have been a fight if you wanted to continue this that they barely got out of.
Well, I think they're a little bit more bulky than that. They show kind of when they were doing the up close shooting was they were shooting between the armor plates. I guess Mandalorians have specific knowledge of where the weak points in the armor are. So they're used to fighting with Beskar armor. I guess it gives them a little bit of a leg up. I don't think it should have given them as much of a leg up as it seems like they did, because like it seems like all the Dark Troopers got murked, and not one Mandalorian was lost.
I mean,
in that fight.
It also feels like, I mean, the Dark Trooper
I mean,
suits are just suits. Like, it's the person in the suit that matters the most, and
Yeah.
Mandalorians are warriors born, so you would expect them to maybe have a little more training than an Imperial troop.
Yeah, and the other thing with, I just want to laugh on it because it kind of makes me giggle, like that Moff Gideon's plan was partially to make those, but also to make himself Star Wars.
Yeah.
I will become the Star Wars. I'll become a stormtrooper and a Jedi and a Mandalorian at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
He
he
wanted to have
definitely
it
was
all.
going for that.
His suit at the end was, I
with
can't,
the Dathmorian or whatever.
Yeah.
Crown.
I can't decide if it was cool or hokey.
I know. Same thing, because it's like, you're a mix of Maul, Vader, and Mandalorian.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Check out my cool cosplay, guys. I'm
like the
Darth
8-year-old in me was like, yeah, but
Yeah, right.
like
The
nearly
like,
30-year-old version of me that I am today was like, no, this seems kind of silly.
No, the realist in me was like, just imagine Moff Gideon in the beforehand being like, no, put 4 or 5 spikes on top. No, too many spikes. They're too tall.
I really want this
like
to
that.
pop. I want people
No,
to go
to
like, wow, when I walk in the room.
To be able to tell me apart from the other guys in the armor.
Also, he had like, was that like a mechanized suit too? Like he was super strong?
They certainly made it seem that way with the sound effects.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
Well,
please pull through to the drive window.
You could even hear like the servos or whatever. You could hear when he moved.
I really wanted him to be like the policeman from Young Frankenstein, just
yeah.
What is this, Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
Replacing all your
Atom Smasher.
Yeah, seriously.
He smashed.
I mean, I guess they had to do it because he's got to crush the Darksaber somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like shoot it.
Yeah,
that'd be silly.
So where do we go from here? They could go wherever they want because he's back to being a bounty hunter, and he's just cool with the Republic.
There have been a lot of
chance of drama there.
There's been a lot of rumors that Pedro Pascal might be leaving the show.
Which good for him. He could do it again. He's in a great spot in his career right now.
Yeah. So if he does,
he got out of Star Wars just fine, which is a fate that not many actors can't say they accomplished.
I would prefer season 4 to just be, kind of getting back to the roots of the show. With Din and Grogu kicking it around the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But if he leaves, obviously, I think it's going to become the Bo-Katan show, and who knows what happens from there.
Yeah. Well, they kind of set it up. The way I was thinking about it was they were setting it up originally with Boba Fett and the Ahsoka series to be this kind of like Avengers style team up. And they did announce, I think, that Dave Filoni's doing some sort of movie where it'll be probably Boba Fett, Mando, and the Ahsoka group kind of coming together to fight Grand Admiral Thrawn,
like the Defenders.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we're gonna see that in Ahsoka when she's hunting down Thrawn on how big of a baddie he is and what his plans are. That'll be really interesting to wrap up before the time period of like the First Order comes to light. Because like again, we had no mention of Thrawn in like any of the sequels, so it's like, all right, well, he's kind of a big character. How does he, roll over into those movies? Or maybe he survives it, and maybe he's the next bad guy after Sidious. Somehow Thrawn returns.
Yeah.
I mean, he came back a couple times in the expanded universe that Disney decanonized with the sequel trilogy.
And it seems like they're really picking apart the legends and like saying, "Hey, we like a lot of this stuff, and we're gonna pick and choose what we want to include."
Yeah.
So It'll be interesting.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they go from here. I just hope that they can kind of get back to making higher quality products. But we probably won't see anything for a while with the writer's strike currently going on.
Hey, I'll say Star Wars is doing a whole lot better than the MCU in terms of like quality and quality writing, acting, CGI. Much more pleased with that because I think they got a cleaner slate.
Yeah,
coming out
it's
with.
not the highest bar to clear right now, though.
Yeah. And fucking bring back the Corsair. That's all I want. That ship was fucking awesome.
That ship was awesome, and just keep your shows focused. If I'm not completely uninterested in ex Imperials living on Coruscant, but have that be its own thing.
Well, maybe it will be. They set up that thing for a reason. It's a spinoff. It's Spies of the Empire, 10, 12 episodes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Until next time, be well, stay safe, and party like it's 1995.
Peace.
Bye-bye.